Here's my audience. Okay. Hello, my name is Mia Carroll, and today I'm doing my speech on the Stockholm Syndrome. So, the Stockholm Syndrome was a psychological phenomenon discovered in the 1970s. These feelings are considered irrational because of the danger that the captive is put in at the time. Some of these connections would be traumatic bonding, where the captive falls in love with their captor. So, causes of Stockholm Syndrome would be a severely unhealthy power where the captor can decide what the captive does, what they can say, what they can wear, what they can eat. An example of this would be the girl who was trapped in a man's backyard for 18 years and had his kid. She felt a traumatic bonding between him, and she felt powerful emotions with him. A threat of death or physical injury from the captor to the captive is another cause of Stockholm Syndrome. This feeling of feeling lost without them and not knowing what to do unless they are with them is a big cause. In a more basic understanding, the development of Stockholm Syndrome can be caused as an individual is holding another hostage. Like I said, maybe the girl who was stuck in the backyard for 18 years. Or in order for the captive to do as is said, he or she gets to know the captor more thoroughly. And this is where the connection starts to come and the traumatic bonding starts to seal the deal. A simple act of kindness by the captor. So, for example, the captor not killing the captive can be one of the biggest feelings that the captive can hold over the captor. And soon the captor seems less frightening and more of a friend because of the bonding that they have. So, some effects of Stockholm Syndrome may include confusion, depression or self-harm, loss of self-worth or dignity, a feeling of being lost or not knowing right from wrong, and PTSD and anxiety are also two big symptoms. So a lot of these symptoms come from obviously the traumatic bonding, but when they think something is totally normal and it's really not, a lot of these symptoms come out and they start to feel confused, or some people might say, why are you with this person? He hurts you, or this person kidnapped you, because it's a well-known thing that being kidnapped is not love. But when you are in this situation for a very long time, you start to feel that bond. Treatments of Stockholm Syndrome is just a lot of therapy, more specifically cognitive therapy, to get down to the center core of the emotion that the captive holds over the captor. Although Stockholm Syndrome is one of the more difficult disorders to treat, it must be done by the victim's own mind. So the victim has to do it him or herself, which is harder because they are so wrapped up in the relationship or so wrapped up in the kidnapper that they don't know how to treat themselves without any support from family or friends. So judgment must be limited also. Understanding that the victim may have been weak at the time, or understanding that it is very hard, even though a normal human being cannot wrap their mind around the feelings that they might hold for the captor. It is still a necessity to not judge the captive because it's a very hard time for him or her. So some final thoughts. When dealing with someone diagnosed with Stockholm Syndrome, one must keep in mind the broken down victim that is in front of them. These victims have been torn down for years, and it will take some time to build them back up. Telling the victim they are stupid or dumb, or that they shouldn't love them, or their feelings or emotions don't make sense just confuses them even more. Captives involved in these types of situations must have a large amount of therapy, like I said, and support from family and friends in order to decrease these symptoms. This might include the process of bringing back their old self and remembering who they were before the incident happened. In order to do this, self-guilt, feeling of worthlessness, and self-esteem may be prominent. But these must be dropped before the captive decides to go back to their captor or back to the brainwashing, because there is a lot of brainwashing that is done by the captor to the captive, and that must be reversed in order for the captive to leave. So here's some of my works cited for everybody. And I just want to thank everybody for listening to my speech today, and I hope you all have a great evening.